she may consume.
Gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First, let me thank the chairman for yielding and for his tremendous leadership in bringing this very important bill to the floor today. I believe that the critical protections contained in this legislation will strengthen the regulations issued by the Federal Reserve, and I strongly support its passage. However, Mr. Chairman, I am concerned that during these incredibly difficult and challenging economic times, our constituents are increasingly being squeezed with egregious fees and dubious business practices by the very banks that their tax dollars have been bailing out. The newspapers are rife with stories about consumers being gouged, mind you, gouged by banks that have been suddenly jacking up their interest rates on their credit cards or imposing new monthly service charges or reducing credit limits with little or no explanation. In most cases, these tactics are being used on consumers who, although they carry a balance from month to month, they pay their bills on time, they're playing by the rules, and they make at least their minimum payment. We've heard countless stories of bait-and-switch tactics by credit card issuers who suddenly raise interest rates because a consumer is a few days late in paying another creditor. This is just downright wrong. It's outrageous. Years ago, I worked with now Senator Sanders on legislation, and this was when I was on the Financial Services Committee, to address this practice of universal default. Now, I'm pleased that this language is included in this bill, but it's critical that the protections banning this practice are put into place immediately. Mr. Chairman, the Federal Reserve has already determined that the use of these unfair bait-and-switch profit-maximizing tactics must end. I believe that we can and we should end these practices at the earliest possible date, like now.
Well, I will take back my time to say the gentlewoman has been a staunch advocate of this. She was thinking about an amendment. Let me say this. Yes, I think that I regret that we were in a situation where we weren't able to move the date up for a variety of reasons. I will say this. If the banks, the credit card issuers, use the time between now and the effective date in a way that is abusive of customers, if they use the time not simply to get ready for the change which they say they need, but if they use the interim period to raise rates on people retroactively and to do other things that are abusive, to me that will be a very strong argument for speeding up the date. Now, the Senate hasn't acted on this bill yet, and it doesn't become law until they do and we go to conference. If we see a pattern of the credit card companies using the time lag to engage in practices that this bill seeks to stop in an excessive way, then I will urge my Senate colleagues to speed up the date and we will acquiesce. And I would yield on this issue to one of the main advocates here, the gentleman from North Carolina.
I thank the gentleman for yielding, and I think he's yielding to me because I made this point in the committee markup that credit card companies were engaging in negative conduct in the interim before this bill gets implemented, and Mr. Frank made exactly the same commitment to me at that point, and we're certainly going to push him on that.
I will yield again to the gentleman from California.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Now, I certainly thank you for your very strong statement, and just want to mention that originally, as I understand it, the bill did contain a 3-month window following the date of enactment, and I want to thank Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney from New York for her leadership on this bill, who really understands the need to do this as quickly as possible. The fact is, as the chairman noted, the banks know that the handwriting is on the wall. They're boosting up fees and on rates on consumers now, and we have a lot of evidence of that. And the longer that we wait to ban these practices, the more our constituents will
Well, let me take back
suffer.
and say, if the